Hi everyone, and welcome to our Spotlight Series. Today we're looking at how MSPs can manage growing IT environments, increasing client demands and tighter SLAs, while continuing to improve the efficiency and service delivery. I'm joined by Jason Keogh, VP of Solutions at TeamViewer, to share what's driving this shift, what's working smarter looks like in the practice, and how TeamViewer One is helping partners simplify the way they operate. Jason, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What's driving the pressure MSPs are under right now, and why is it becoming harder to keep up with demand using traditional ways of working?
Well, I think with all the AI revolution, as we talk through this, I'm probably going to say the word AI more times than I should, but the AI revolution is driving expectations of end customers that they want you to do more for less. And if you're not actually investing in that methodology, if you're not really harvesting the value of AI, then you're not going to be able to do more for less, and that's going to drive a lot of pressure.
As MSP environments grow, operations tends to become more complex across tools, systems, and processes. Where are you seeing the biggest inefficiencies showing up day to day?
Okay, so the more balls you try to juggle, the harder it is. And one of the things that we do with TeamViewer One is we provide a lot of different functionality that MSPs need to provide different types of services to their customers. So really, we talk a lot about DEX, which is digital employee experience, but that's an outcome. And the methodology we use is called AEM, which is autonomous endpoint management. That autonomous endpoint management can also provide better security outcomes, reduce cost. So if you're trying to reduce your cost and improve your end customer security and improve their employee experience and deliver better service, sort of need to pile them all in. If you've got one tool to do one thing and another tool to do another thing, you're trying to configure them both and manage them both and do that differently perhaps across different customers, it becomes really complicated. So the goal is to try and centralize as much as possible, I would say, in both in terms of tooling and in terms of the services that you're offering. You can bundle them appropriately. You still need to pay attention to individual customers and what they want and need. But the key thing is to try and offer standards and then tweak where you need to, as opposed to giving every single customer a customized package thing, because that's going to create a nightmare for you over time.
Many MSPs talk about moving from reactive support to proactive model. What does that actually look like in practice? And how can MSPs make that shift?
Yeah, that reactive to proactive thing, I think, was an argument and a conversation from 10 years ago, really. If you look at the tech that we have, previously called 1E, that's a company that TeamViewer bought. It's where I came from. And we were doing that proactive thing, 10 years ago. And proactive to me means that when there's something that you know how to fix and you know how to identify it when it goes wrong, that when it goes wrong, you apply the fix automatically. It's an autonomous reaction to a known problem. And that is something that I suppose the state of the art is easily handling that at this point. The way that we handle it is very unique because of the real-time nature of what we do, and we can dig into that with any of your partners that are interested. But I think actually what we need to be talking about is not proactive, it's predictive, and what on earth is that, right? So there's always a next. We actually have the vision that goes beyond predictive, but we're delivering on the predictive one now. So if you think about reactive, there's always going to be a need for it. You have a customer with a problem, and if it isn't a known problem that we have a proactive response for already, then we need to go in and fix it, and ideally using, let's say, TeamViewer Remote. Okay, so that's part of our business. TeamViewer several years ago started looking at how they could make that better. So one thing we can do is build AI on top of it so that the support person, level 1, level 2 support, can actually get assistance from AI with the context of that device and this problem, so that the AI is providing steps to take and ways to fix it, and that's nice. They also built on a thing called Session Insights, and the goal of Session Insights initially was so that as the support person goes through, they click on start, they go into control panel, they go to services, they stop a service, they go to command prompt, and they run a command, and they follow all this thing, and then they need to update their ticketing system afterwards to say what they did, and they just say fixed it, and the detail of how they fixed it and what they did is lost, and that's not ideal. So what we did was we built a Session Insights that will basically document what it is that the user or that the support person is doing, and then enable you to integrate that to your service management, and it just uploads it automatically. When they acquired 1E, what they acquired was an automation platform that can do things in real time. And now what we have is this level of detail, this level of information about what is being done by those humans in those reactive sessions. And that essentially becomes training for the AI in AEM, which is the A is autonomous endpoint management, but it's really AI plus automation plus data. That data of what the humans are doing is massively valuable. So you can identify trends that are occurring across potentially multiple different customers that are being dealt with by multiple support people. You can identify that, and it can actually write for you an automation to fix that. So this sort of merging of reactive into automatically creating what will be the proactive, and looking at the DEX telemetry, which is the digital employee experience telemetry, ridiculous numbers of data points from a device to identify what is going wrong. To potentially create new automations, not about the known knowns or the things people are reporting. That is where the predictive comes in. It's looking at the things that are not yet reported. So if we can identify a problem like, I don't know, application X, the most important application for the customer, is normally starts in 1.4 seconds. And it starts taking 1.5 seconds, and then 1.6 seconds, 1.8 seconds on the machine. A human isn't going to notice until it starts taking 3 or 5 seconds, multiple times longer than it normally takes. And eventually they'll start complaining about that. But the system will notice this is taking longer when it's just off by a little bit. And when we can look at those little bits incrementally, can we identify what the cause of why this application is taking 50% longer to start? And if we can do that, we can identify a problem before the user does, and we can then identify a fix and an automation. So this is where we talk about predictive rather than simply sort of proactive.
One of the biggest challenges for MSPs is scaling support without scaling headcount. Where are teams getting stuck today, and what's helping them break through that limitation?
They're getting stuck at scaling support without scaling cost. And scaling headcount. The goal of this autonomous endpoint management is really to enable people to do more with less. And that doesn't mean that the goal is to enable you to fire half your workforce or fire the support people. Quite the opposite, actually. We generally see a trend in level 1 and level 2 support, particularly level 1, of probably about a 2-year run. When you hire someone, they're in there for 2 or 3 years, and if they haven't moved up to level 2 or up higher in the business, they're probably going to be leaving and going elsewhere. And that attrition rate, therefore, is about 50% a year. We call it 40%, right? So it's 2.5 years, let's say. Instead of rehiring, you can allow that attrition to take place naturally. You don't need to fire anybody, but you can end up with a smaller team. And when you have the AEM capabilities providing essentially virtual IT capacity, right? When the majority of problems that can be identified are fixed autonomously when the problem occurs and doesn't lead to a ticket being created, then that means you can do more with fewer people. So that's the approach to that. And I think the right answer, when you start getting that additional increase, because it takes a while before you build that up, right? And as you build it up and your team gets more and more comfortable with it, essentially your attrition rates will start dropping over time as well. So you let the attrition rate remove some of the people as they wish to leave, essentially. And then what happens is you find that the people who are left are better at what they're doing because they've got more experience and they're longer. And they're actually, those level 1 support engineers are beginning to act like engineers because the known problems are just fixed automatically. Just lots of unknown problems. So they're actually thinking and working with AI to develop new solutions to build out new autonomous fixes. But they're working like engineers, and they get to use their brains more than following a knowledge base article. And these are the 12 steps to do when you see this problem. So it's more enjoyable for the employees. It ultimately costs less for the company, and they have a better experience for the user because less things are going wrong for the users in their customer base. So that's the goal of this autonomous endpoint automation, autonomous endpoint management.
When MSPs start to bring these different capabilities together, remote access, monitoring, automation, what does a more unified approach enable them to achieve operationally?
So I think spoke about that. We have when you have the remote control being part of that AI mix, which then drives more automation as part of that AI mix. And it pulls together into driving an autonomous proactive response, which is quite unique in how we do it. And then you combine that then with the ability to have predictive telemetry-based improvements. So from all of these things being put together, we see a step change in the volume of tickets. So you should be able to massively reduce the number of tickets and incidents, because if you can make the environment healthier, then there's fewer problems. If you can react in real time autonomously when there's an issue, then there's fewer problems. And when you have the ability to trigger automations through integrations within ServiceNow or your platform of choice, then essentially you're making the mean time to resolve faster as well. So what they see from this unified approach is a reduction in ticket volumes, a reduction in MTTR, and ultimately, again, that better experience for their customers, better security, lower cost. These are the three repetitive themes of what we do.
For MSPs looking to improve how they operate today, what's a practical first step they should take to start moving toward a more efficient and scalable model?
Well, working for TeamViewer, I have to say, just go out and buy TeamViewer One. But the fact is, if you have TeamViewer already, if you have just the TeamViewer Tensor product, for example, the way in which we license those AI pieces has changed significantly. We give a lot more what are called AI credits. Essentially now it's a fair use program, right? So previously you really had to buy credits, and the goal now is that you get the value from AI by just using the product, right? So if you've only got Tensor, you've only got remote, enable the AI features today. That means you should be facilitating better response times anyway with that, and less documentation for your support people. And then from that, you're also building that catalog of manual fixes. So when you do go forward to the full sort of AI step, you put in TeamViewer, One Advanced, for example, or Enterprise, at that point, you're going to be able to use that wealth of knowledge that you've created to identify what your biggest problems that your customers have are. What are the most common issues? What are the most common ways we resolve that? What are the steps inside those ways? So instead of having knowledge base articles, you have the actual recordings, the actual documentation of what's been going on inside those sessions, and you use that to build out your autonomous reactions. That's a great first step. So if you have TeamViewer today, even if it's not the TeamViewer One side, start using the AI functions. If you have got TeamViewer One today, enable as many full automations as you can, rather than just looking at sort of reporting on issues. The goal isn't to observe the problem or admire the problem. The goal is to fix the problem. And the autonomous, features, the automation tech that's in there allows you to do that. So I'd say that's a good first step, is turn on the bits you've got already.
So Jason, all of our partners have experience with TeamViewer Tensor. There's a new TeamViewer One platform. Where do you see the TeamViewer One platform sitting in the MSP's technology stack? Traditionally, we have the PSA, the RMM, some automation tools. Where does TeamViewer One fit?
Well, it's certainly an automation tool. You can use it as well for a lot of different functions that you might use today in your RMM. And obviously it can replace entirely the Tensor functionality, because that's actually part of that TeamViewer One functionality. So it's really the Tensor remote stuff, plus additional AI capabilities, plus additional automation capabilities. And if you might say, well, what kind of automation, or what kind of automations do you do manually? It's that kind of automation. What kind of responses do you do manually? It's driving automations to that kind of action. So it's almost any action. So where it replaces is potentially RMM tools, automation tools, certainly, remote control tools, and bringing all that together onto one platform, hence the TeamViewer One. And we have the advanced piece, which will allow you to take AI insights and create AI automations out of them. And then you have Enterprise, which allows you to handcraft things and do quite a lot more. But really, these are the ones for an MSP of any sort of significant size. I would say TeamViewer One Advanced, TeamViewer One Enterprise should be what they're looking at.
Great. Thanks, Jason. It's clear that MSPs are under pressure to do more with less, and platforms like TeamViewer One are helping them simplify and scale their operations in a more proactive way. For partners who want to explore this further, Synnex Australia can support with enablement, onboarding, and helping you take the next step. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.